Are you a permanent resident thinking about applying for citizenship and you just don't understand what the benefits are to even becoming a US citizen? Well, let me break it down for you because there are three main benefits that I want you to know about before you make that decision. I am US Immigration Attorney Lillian Chukwurah, and I help my clients get green cards and citizenship for themselves and their families using the US immigration law system. Let's talk about the first benefit, which is the right to vote. As a US citizen, you will now be able to vote on federal, state, and local elections. As a permanent resident, you are not allowed to register to vote or to vote in any federal, state, or local elections. That can be hard for some people because you do not get an input on who is governing you. Right? You get to pay your taxes and do all of that, but you do not get any input on who is your senator, president, any elected official. Well, that's why you should apply for citizenship, because once you're a citizen, you are now able to vote and make decisions on who you want to be your president, who you want to be your senator, who you want to be your congressperson, right? Who you want to be your mayor. It can be very local as well as federal. So make sure that once you do become a citizen, you are registering to vote and that you are being an active participant during election season, not just federal elections, but your local elections too, because the decisions that are made by your mayor, your selectmen, those decisions affect you on a immediate day-to-day level than some federal decisions. So make sure that you are not only voting on federal, but also on your local elections as well. And that's my plug for voting, okay? Make sure you register to vote and that you vote. That is a right that only US citizens have. And once you become a citizen, you too will have that same right. Adjacent to that right is the right to, think about it, run for office. Once you're registered to vote and can actually make decisions on who you want to elect and all of that, you now also have the right to run for office. So you can be a senator, you can be a mayor, right? There's no requirement for you to be a US citizen to be in those levels of power. Now, if you want to be a US president, you know that you have to be born a US citizen, not a naturalized citizen. However, you can be a senator, you can be a governor in most states, right? So you want to make sure that when you're registering to vote, you're looking at your whole life. And, you know, if you want to ever run for office, now that you're a US citizen, you can run for certain offices. You can now vote in your local and state and federal elections. The second benefit is one that I personally, when I became a US citizen, was so excited about, which is the enhanced travel permissions, right? Now you as a US citizen, when you are coming through the airport, right? If you are a permanent resident or a visa holder coming into the US, you know how hectic that security with Border Patrol can be, how long the lines are, how many questions they ask you, all of that. So once you're a US citizen and you're going through the airport, one thing that immigration officers are not going to ask you is, why were you outside of the US for so long? Why are you coming to the US? They're not going to ask you that because guess what? You are a US citizen. You can come and go as you please because that is your right, okay? So your time with Border Patrol at the airport is going to be immensely shorter than it is right now when you're going through security as a permanent resident. The second benefit to having that US passport when it comes to travel is now there's so many countries open to you as far as where you can go visa free. That's really the key here because Yes, you can basically go to any country if you can apply for their visa and you have a visa to that country. But with your US passport, now you have all these countries open to you because of your passport. You can travel visa free. You don't have to worry about getting a visa ahead of time. You don't have to worry about any of that. As long as you stick within the time frame that the country gives you for visa waiver. Typically, your visa waiver for most countries is between 30 and 90 days. So you want to make sure that you are sticking with that and not overstaying in another country. But that visa waiver is so, so important. Okay, it makes life so much easier. It makes it so much more enjoyable for you to travel once you have that US passport. Let's talk about the third most important thing that you get once you become a US citizen. When you go from permanent resident to US citizen, it opens up so many opportunities for you to petition for family. You know, as a permanent resident, you can petition for your spouse and your unmarried children. The time frame is going to differ for children depending on if they're under 21 or if they're over 21, right? We know that. But you can only petition for your unmarried children and your spouse. Once you become a US citizen, though, now you can petition for all your children, regardless of if they are married or not. You can petition for your spouse. You can petition for your parents and your siblings. And one of my favorites, you can petition for your fiancé, right? If you meet someone, you're ready to get married, but you want them to come to the US and get married to you here, you couldn't do that as a permanent resident. You had to go over there, get married, start the marriage petition, and do all of that over there. So once you're in the US and you are a US citizen, you can now petition for your fiance, not just your spouse, right? Remember, permanent residents can only petition for someone that they are married to. But if you are not married yet, if you want to get married in the US, not outside of the US, you must wait, right? Until you're a citizen. But once you're a citizen, guess what? You can now petition for your fiance, or you can choose to get married. Now options are available to you. And that's why becoming a US citizen is so important, because now you have options.
If you got your green card through VAWA as the spouse of a US citizen, you do not have to wait 5 years. You can also apply within 3 years of having your green card. This is a special rule for VAWA recipients because you were the abused spouse of a US citizen. And the way that USCIS thinks about it is if you were not abused, you'll probably be still married to your spouse and still qualify under that. But if you are the abused spouse of a US citizen and you apply for VAWA, receive VAWA, apply for a green card, received your green card, you can apply for citizenship within 3 years of having your green card without having to show that you are still with your spouse, without having to show any of the marital stuff, just that you got your green card through VAWA.
Permanent residents, your options are very limited. Where you can live is the US, right? Once you're a permanent resident, you know you have to maintain your residency in the US, be able to prove that you are calling the US your home, right? But once you are a US citizen, the options are open to you. US citizens can live outside of the US and still maintain their citizenship. A permanent resident cannot do that, right? A permanent resident cannot choose to be outside of the US for 10 years and then come back and just maintain their residency without having to deal with CBP or, God forbid, ICE, right? So you want to make sure that once you're a US citizen, you know that you have this additional right of being able to live anywhere you want, being able to work anywhere you want, right? Being able to petition for more family, being able to travel to more countries without needing a visa. Like, it is so amazing. So once you become a US citizen, you get all these privileges. just for being a US citizen. So if someone is telling you, oh, there's no benefit to becoming a US citizen, just stay a permanent resident, show them this video. There's at least 3 reasons why you should take the step of becoming a US citizen. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want more video about US citizenship and just answering your questions on that, make sure to click one of these videos, and I will see you next time.